Hey, what's up, guys? This is Andre, or Chokinator if you know me from my stream, and a lot of people have been requesting which brushes I use. So I only use a few brushes for both animation and illustration. I don't really like switching brushes that much, but I would encourage you guys to explore all the brushes in Krita. Right here I have the brush presets set to all. So there really are a lot of brushes, and if you refer to one of my other videos about unlocking all the brushes, I can review that one real quick. You just go settings, configure Krita. Oh no, excuse me. Settings, manage resources, and then the inactive bundles, sometimes you'll get the Krita default resources on this side. You just move it over to the left and you'll have access to every single brush, including the old brushes from Krita 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. So I have all the brushes here from both Krita 3 and 4. And you can actually right click any brush and you can go assign to tag. So I can assign to tag, like add something to my favorites. I guess if one's not already on my favorites, I could, yeah, remove from other tag my favorites. So you can right click any brush. Looks like I saved a lot of these in my favorites already. There we go. Assign to tag my favorites. So I've already included a bunch of brushes in the my favorites tag, but I'm going to go over the ones that I use the most, and I pretty much use them exclusively. And I can do everything with those brushes. So the first one I'm going to go over is this one, Basic Flow. So there's a bunch of other letters in there. I'll type the names of the brushes in the description because they have really weird names with a bunch of different characters. But Basic Flow is one of my favorites. I use this one for color. So if I go to a random color here, and by the way, this piece you're seeing here, I pretty much use every single brush that I like. This is a recent piece that I did, so I guess I wanted to showcase it as well. But I'm going to demonstrate Basic Flow here. It's a really, really nice circular brush. You can use it for line art if you want to use it thin lines. But the pressure sensitivity for the flow is very, very nice for coloring. And it blends really nicely too. So if I were going to make like this, if I tap very lightly, you can see it blending really nicely, or if I press it hard, you can also see a pretty hard edge. So you can do both subtle blending or hard edges with that brush. So I really, really love that brush, and I didn't change any of the settings for any of these brushes, so these are the default brushes, and I just found my favorites. Another one I like for color is this one, Block_Tilt. And the reason I like this one is because look at the shape of it. So it has a pretty similar flow to the other one. It's a little bit more pixelated on the edges, and if you go over it like this, it will stack the opacity. So that's something that like Basic Flow doesn't have. So if I go back to Basic Flow and I draw over it, it doesn't really stack the opacity. Whereas for this one, you can see it's stacking. If you guys know what I mean. Like if I draw lightly over it, it'll stack like that. But what I love about this brush is that you can get tight corners. The shape allows you to get tight corners, which is really, really nice. So for example, if I wanted to color in like her chest area, I can like do that, right? And it's really easy to get corners, and you don't really have to use the eraser or anything like that. So I really like that brush. And I know this brush is from Krita 3, so you have to unlock the old brushes in order to get that one. Another one that I use, this is the one, I use this one for line art and also for coloring flat colors. So this is called Ink G Pen, or Ink 3 G Pen. I usually use black with this one. So you pretty much get a flat color. It's very similar to basically any old circular brush with pressure sensitivity. But I guess the default pressure sensitivity on this one is really nice, and it really does imitate a manga pen really well. But I also use it to lay in flat colors just because it's just so nicely, the settings are so nice. So if I want to color her hair green or whatever, and just lay in a base color with flat colors, I'll just do that. So I also use this G Pen brush for animation, coloring animation, but I actually don't use this brush for the line art on my animation. The brush that I like for animation is this one called Fill_Block. So if I make it bigger, you can actually see that the shape of this brush is a block. It's just a rectangle. It's a diagonal rectangle. So if I were to write with it, it kind of gives you like a calligraphy feel because the brush is tilted. And the reason I use it for animation is because by default, I have my eraser on my tablet pen set to this brush right here, which is Fill_Circle. So if I select that, you get this circular feel, but it's still inferior to G Pen brush because The edges are a little bit more pixelated when you use a large version of the brush. And I was using this brush, fill_block for animation, and you kind of get a little bit more expressive line because of the calligraphy shape. So I usually use this brush, fill_block. I set it to 2 pixels, and this is what I use for animation in Krita. I could set it to 1 pixel, but you kind of get this really, really light line, and I prefer the solid black that you get with 2 pixels. So this is the secret to my animation. I know that in other animation programs, you basically would just want to use vector lines. In Krita, you're limited to raster settings. Maybe I would get a cleaner line if I set the G-Pen brush to 2 pixels, but still you don't get a fully opaque line. So fill_block, set to 2 pixels. That's my favorite brush that I use for animation lines. And the last brush I want to look at, so this brush is by far my favorite brush in Krita. It's ink_ballpen. And the reason I like it is actually not because it imitates a pen, but because it is the best feeling pencil brush that I've ever used in any digital art program. I know there's a lot of programs, and I know in Paint Tool Sci, for example, you can really well customize the brushes to make them feel like a pencil. And I know, like, even if I click these here, there's a lot of brushes here that try to imitate pencils. And most programs have these. This one is like the edge of a pencil, but this one just simply has the best feeling. This one, ink_ballpen. So if I set it to black, so I did all these line arts with it. So I use it for both sketching and line art. So let's say I want to use I want to sketch something out. So if I press lightly, I really get this pencil looking feel. If I make the thing a little bit bigger, I can really change the line quality here, and you get a little bit less opaque. You get sort of a gray line, so it really feels like a pencil. But if I press hard, you can pretty much get a black line. And it is, if you go over it a few times, you know, there's in the texture, like if I were to make it really big and I press down like that, you can kind of see some edges that are a little bit pixelated, but it still gives a nice natural feel. It looks like a pencil pretty much. But if I were to take that same brush and just, let's say I just go over it a few times and press hard, you pretty much get a nice black line. And I think the texture of it really gives me this natural feel. Like for this piece, maybe some people would prefer like nice, like if I use the G-Pen brush, like some nice clean edges. I've been experimenting a lot with this pen, this ball pen brush, ink ball pen, and I really like it for both sketching and line art. And I really enjoy brushes like that, like a single brush with many different uses. I even use this brush to color sometimes. So like I can go red, and it just gives you like a nice natural texture. Like this is like if you're using a pastel crayon or something. So yeah, like I said, I do pretty much everything with those brushes, and there are a lot of brushes that I use here that I try to experiment with. But again, I like minimizing my selection of brushes to just a few. Now there is one that I like to use. It's a blender brush. Like there's quite a few blenders in Krita, but like for example, you can use this smudging tilt sensitive brush here for smudging. There's quite a few smudging brushes, but one that I really like. Let me just brush in a couple colors here with that brush. So let's put in a red here, and let's put like an orange right here. I really like the rake blenders. So there's two of them in Krita. So there's this one, smudge_rake, and you kind of get this rake texture. I really like how that looks. So that's one of my favorites. And then there's this other one, smudge_rake_2, smudge rake 2. It kind of has the same effect, but it's a little bit, the lines are a little bit thinner and they're further apart. So I don't really use this one as much. It doesn't have quite the same power as far as blending, but it's kind of the same effect that I like. Now you guys can have the option of exploring. Again, I recommend you explore every single brush in Krita and just tag all the ones that you like. So you can always assign them to a different tag, right? There are a lot of these default tags, but I like the My Favorites tag because I just like having them all in one place. Anyway, that said, that's my brush video. Hopefully you guys learned something and can experiment with some of these brushes. Again, this one is by far my favorite. I use it for everything. I think almost this entire piece was just made with one brush, with that ink_ballpen brush. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know if there's any other questions you have, anything else you want me to show you. So that was my brush demo video showing my favorite brushes in Krita. Hope you guys like it. See you guys later. Bye bye.